Absolutely no rest for the wicked out here, but hey, I guess if Woj doesn't sleep, I don't sleep because Fred VanVleet is officially gone. What's up, everybody? It's JJ Buckets. Yeah, you just saw me here probably about, what, like an hour ago or so with the upload, and well, depending on when this uploads, by the time it obviously finishes processing on my computer and uploads to YouTube and such, give or take an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case is. But nonetheless, that's not the point. The point here is that Fred VanVleet has officially signed with the Rockets, and boy, did he get a bag. Oh, Fred VanVleet officially gets the first max contract, actually, of this free agency period. And before I fully hop into things here, obviously, like the video, subscribe to the channel, you know the drill. Anywho, I had just enough time to have a bite, walk my dog, I come home, boom, Fred VanVleet is a member of the Houston Rockets. If I remember correctly off the top of my head, but I mean, obviously I'll have the graphic displayed here anyway, so it doesn't matter, but it was 4 years, $130 million for Fred VanVleet, which, like I said, bag. Yeah, Mr. Bet on himself, and he got his money, and Toronto did not match. So Fred VanVleet gets his opportunity to get his money. He's going to Houston, where he gets to be the veteran leading a bunch of young guys there, so that'll be a fun fit to watch, that's for sure. But yeah, Houston felt like they needed vets to guide their young core. They bring in their vet, they bring in their guy. Fred is gonna take the reins there and try to reel in what was an ugly offense to watch at times, respectfully to Houston, of course, when Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green were running it. Şengün definitely had his moments facilitating that offense, but in terms of like playmaking for that offense, it was bad. So now Fred VanVleet comes in, gets a chance to, you know, try and right the ship, which we'll see how that goes. And for the Raptors, well, Steady Freddy is officially gone. A lot of Raptors fans, I imagine, will be celebrating. A lot of Raptors fans are, you know, not particularly happy about this. I'm somewhere in between. I mean, look, I've been clamoring for the fact that I think this core needed a shakeup to some extent, so here's your shakeup. The only thing is, when I was clamoring for it, I wanted to get value back, and Toronto gets obviously no value back because Fred walks out the door for nothing, joins Houston, who had the cap space to sign him, and they didn't have to work with Toronto on a sign and trade or anything of the sort. So Toronto gets no return for Fred VanVleet, but they do get a shakeup potentially. Now is obviously when things get interesting because there's no, I guess, definitive point guard to look at on the roster right now. Look, I know the obvious thing that everybody's gonna say, Scottie Barnes goes to point guard, Scottie Barnes goes to point guard. Sure, let's say that that's going to be the experiment that we're going to be running at the moment, and I guess, what, like Downton comes in off the bench, assuming that he's brought back. I believe they gave him an offer for restricted free agency recently, so that's your backcourt there. Like moving into the season, that's interesting. Because for as many flaws as Fred VanVleet had, which, I mean, let's be honest, Fred's a flawed player, and you take it with the good with the bad, I suppose. But in his flaws, Fred a lot of the time was still the best facilitator of that offense in terms of just, again, like I can pick out so many moments from this past season watching Raptors games where Fred steps off the court and the offense looks putrid, terrible, and now you're leaving it potentially in the hands of Scottie Barnes running point guard, which again could be interesting. It could be a real moment of growth and a real opportunity for Scottie, and I'm not saying he can't do it. By all means, I'd love to see him do it, but it definitely leaves a potential question mark because otherwise, like, you're really looking around for agency. What else are you really going to pursue? Gabe Vincent, who I thought would have been a great target for the Raptors, has signed with the Lakers, which has now forced me to change my thumbnail for that video twice because of the Harrison Barnes signing and the Gabe Vincent signing. At this point, I'm literally holding out hope for Donte DiVincenzo, but even Donte DiVincenzo, like, that's a role player. That's not a starting caliber point guard. So again, at this point, like, you're all in, I would imagine, on the Scottie Barnes at point guard experiment. So that could be interesting. And I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe something still happens from here that shakes things up where obviously you get a proper quote-unquote guard to run that spot to come in. But if not, you got Scotty at the 1, either one of like Grady Dick or Gary Trent Jr. at the 2, obviously OG at the 3, Pascal at the 4, and Jakob Poeltl, who just re-signed at the 5, which is interesting. But there are already some glaring issues, I would say, with that immediately just like looking at it. And do I have to say it? For a team that struggled with shooting, you have Scotty Barnes, that's not a particularly prolific shooter in that lineup. You have Pascal Siakam, who's not a prolific shooter in that lineup. And then you have Jakob Poeltl, who's almost a complete non-shooter in that lineup with 2 potential shooting pieces around them. That's not necessarily a recipe for success. And to have full confidence in that moving forward, I would imagine you would really hope that either, Barnes comes in, has a great jumper after, an off-season of workouts and improving on that part of his game, or at least a more respectable one. Or, Siakam comes in and has a career year shooting-wise, because I think if one of those 2 things don't happen, either Barnes considerably improving his shot, or Siakam, capturing a spark there, having a career year shooting. If one of those 2 things don't happen, and, that's the lineup that you're running moving forward, oh boy, it could be a long year. But it'll be interesting. Obviously, I have a lot of faith in Scotty Barnes and who I think he's going to be as a pro. So I think, Fred VanVleet being gone, Scotty getting a much bigger role here with the team, there is going to be a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I really hope he delivers. I would really love to see him deliver. But in any case, that's pretty much just where we stand at this point. So, Raps fans that wanted Fred gone, congratulations, you got your wish. Throw the parade. Raps fans that didn't, or Raps fans that were somewhere in the middle, well, I guess we will see what happens from here. That's really all I could say at this point. Again, I'm sure there's still going to be some dominoes falling in terms of how this team properly formulates, so it'll be interesting to see what the final pieces are to this puzzle and what the final equation looks like going into next season. But as of now, I think the sentiment was always, we have 3 agents for this offseason. You aren't keeping all 3. Fred VanVleet is that 3rd. Fred VanVleet is the one that's gone. And now the Raptors look forward to, so to speak, a future without Fred. And we will see what that looks like. That's pretty much been me. I'm just going to throw it out there real quick. Fred VanVleet, through the ups and the downs, pleasure having you on this team. Not that you'll ever see this video, but in case you do. Yeah. But other than that, folks, usual drill at the end of these videos. Second time I'm saying it today, 'cause it's the second video of the day. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. You know it helps tremendously, so thank you if you're doing it. Yeah, that's been me for the second time today. It's JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure, and so help me God if there's a 3rd news break on this evening that involves the Raptors. I think I might just do a YouTube short because I don't think I have another video in me. Yeah, I will see everybody next time. And just as I put the Fred VanVleet video into processing on my laptop, we get the news break that Dennis Schroder is coming to the Raptors. So I guess now we know who the replacement is for Fred VanVleet. Just for some quick thoughts, because I'm not going to give the, massive extent of it here. I like Schroder. I'd be interested to see whether or not they angle for Schroder starting or whether or not they're going to use him as a backup point guard. Yeah, it just really depends on, I guess, what direction they want to go with Scotty Barnes here. Schroeder's a good pickup. Obviously, he's not the player that Fred VanVleet is, so take it for what you will, but it's a solid move and a quick response from Masai. Yeah, don't hate it. That's the extent of the thoughts that you're gonna get here. Yeah.